Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation. Jeremy Jordan and Provo, Spencer Linton at Williams Stadium in Lynchburg, Virginia. We now welcome into the program the General. Cameron Jensen is on the show. Cameron, welcome back to the show, man.
Hey, good to be back on. Happy Friday before game day.
Hey, game day eve's always exciting, and this week there's some anxiety. There's some nervous feelings going into this matchup with Liberty, certainly after giving up 52 in a loss at home to Arkansas. Yet I just argued in the previous segment that I believe BYU is going to win handily. How are you feeling about this matchup?
Look, I think we're going to respond well. We have to. They're a good team. They're good offensively. They're great defensively, but we're BYU, and I want to see this team respond, what the leadership's like after a loss that we had at home. I want to see, how we respond and what leadership really takes control, that player-led leadership. And so I think we respond well and we go in and beat Liberty.
Cam, we're expecting BYU to make some significant changes in terms of who is making the play calls on the defensive side, and there will be some personnel shifting for sure on the staff, and they'll probably limit the number of players instead of these massive line changes. That said, how difficult are mid-season changes when you're talking about kind of overhauling the defense?
Yeah, it's hard, but this is a defense that changes week to week, and there's some benefits to that, and I think there's some negative effects as well. As a linebacker, I was in the same defense, and I knew how to fit defensively in the run game specifically. And I think that's kind of hard, knowing your fits when the defense changing week to week. So I think this is a defense that's used to changing, and I think that kind of the side effect is stopping the run because the fits are different each week as a linebacker. And so I think they're going to simplify it. I think if there's one way to go and where I think they should go is just really simplify it. And like you said, the substitutions, the stat's been 58%. Our starters are playing 58% of the time. And I think that's really unique. And I saw players get in the game against Arkansas that weren't ready and didn't make plays. And so I like the fact we're not going to substitute, make our starters play more. It's game 8. They've got the endurance. And like you said, I think Kalani getting involved in the defense, that does a lot. It's not just schematically, it's culture as well. It's a sense of urgency. It's, well, we got the head coach helping. We got to get going. And there's something that does, again, just not schematically, but just culture-wise when the head coach says, hey, I'm getting more involved in the defense. Let's go. And so I think that'll help as well. I think they'll simplify it and have our better players on the field more.
Dad came down to the basement and said, hey, it's time to clean up, and he's helping clean up. So the sense of urgency is much higher. BYU 96th, by the way, in 4.47 yards per carry allowed. So stopping the run, certainly interesting. And that number is interesting, too, 58%. So besides line changes and stopping the run, what else do you feel like needs to be adjusted in some way this week?
Yeah, I'd say simplify what I said earlier. It was interesting. I was listening to Aaron Rodgers talk about their lack of offense production. He said, when we try and do too much, that's when we struggle. We need to simplify. And I would say that this is a defense. Let's figure out what we do well. Maybe not change as much week to week. Let's really simplify it. Let's get people comfortable in the run game, where they fit, where people are playing. So I would say really simplify, because you can't change too much midseason. You can't change a whole defensive scheme. That's difficult. And so I would say let's figure out what we do well, and let's just really simplify it, so players know where they're fit. It's not confusing. And so I would look at them to do that, figure out what we've done well, get our best players on the field, and just really simplify the defense.
Cam, for whatever reason, BYU has not played well in afternoon starts over the past 2 years. In fact, I just chronicled last segment that BYU is 3-6 in their last 9 combined afternoon games over the course of 2 seasons. It's an afternoon game against Liberty. They got to travel 2 time zones to the East Coast, to Virginia, a place that BYU doesn't visit often. How much stock do you put into the difficulty increasing of an afternoon game in the Eastern time zone?
I don't know. I think it is difficult traveling. I know they left 2 days early, so I think that'll help. But look, I played afternoon games, late games. You just got to be ready to play. And no matter when it is, it is a little difficult. But I never thought it was hard an afternoon game or evening time. So I don't know what's causing that, but I would look at what they're doing. Get the team up moving early. I like that they're going there 2 days early. Get a little more climatized to it. So, I think no matter when you play, you got to be ready. But I think that I have heard we interviewed Max Tooley. He said they're doing some things in the morning, getting them more active, some stuff like that. So I know the team's doing something to combat those lackadaisical starts in afternoon games, but you just got to be ready to play. No matter when it is you got to make sure you're ready to go.
The pride of Rick's College and then BYU, Cameron Jensen.
We're a dying breed. There's not many of us left.
The spirit of Rick's is alive, right? In Rexburg there. Cam, 7 takeaways from the defense this year. That's a low number. It's one a game. That's 99th in FBS. That's not great. To what degree can you create turnovers? Obviously, you can punch it out, but picks almost feel like sometimes you need a little bit of luck there. So how does this team create more takeaways?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is disguising defensively, not letting the quarterback know what you're doing. I think that's one thing. Quarterbacks are way too comfortable when they play our defense. I'm kind of sick of hearing how quarterbacks have their season best game against us or career best. I think we need to make them more uncomfortable. They kind of know what we're doing. And so I think disguising or switching that up. But turnovers, it just comes to Max Tooley, that strip, that's just an instinctive play. It's hard to teach those things. It's Nakua, how he was always around the ball. It's you got to have those instinctive players that just know how to get to the ball. And we haven't really had someone. Max Tooley is the one that's created a lot of those turnovers. You want to see more people with those kind of instincts and those, deliberate to go strip the ball. And we don't have too many of those this year. And so I noticed that it was our second forced fumble that we recover. That's, we need to be more active. And I think that starts with scheme, disguising, and then players just more deliberately going for that ball. But Max Tooley's really the only one out there that's making turnovers happen.
Cam, you were such a natural leader at BYU, and your teammates say it's just a part of who he was. We all look to him as one of our clear leaders. Jaron Hall is the clear leader of BYU's offense. Who's the leader that needs to step up for this BYU defense? Because there's not really a clear-cut one that we have noticed at this point of the season.
I think that's the problem is, I'm going to go back to my sophomore year where we had a game like this. We beat Notre Dame at home. It was my first game playing college. And then we went to Stanford and we got beat up. I mean, I got beat up. It was a wake-up call to Division I football. They were a big physical team. And I had Brady Papinga the next day say, Cameron, look me in the eye and say, you need to do better. You're better than that. You need to play better. And believe me, when it's a player coming at you rather than Coach Mendenhall or my Coach Lamb at the time, that's different. That's different. And so I played better. I played harder because I didn't want to let Brady Papinga down. And I want to know who that is. Who's that Brady? Who's that guy that I learned from that's going to hold them accountable? And every great team has that leadership where there's somebody like that. And so you look at Peyton Wilgar. I know he's out this week. He's he's got the C on his jersey. You look for him. He was voted captain. Peely as well. So I look at them to really. It's different when a player holds you accountable than a coach. And I want to see those players say that is unacceptable against Arkansas. 644 yards, 52 points. Man, I'm embarrassed. This is not happening again. But it needs to come from the players. Coaches can only do so much. It's when you have that guy on your team, that Brady Papinga, that can hold people accountable, that's when things get better. And so I hope there's been somebody this week, Peyton Wilgar or others. But like you said, there hasn't been really a clear-cut one on defense, but I hope somebody really fills that void and steps up.
At least publicly, Gabe Judy Lally, one of the cornerbacks, said, hey, it's up to us. It's not up to the coaches. Yeah. We need to do this, like you said. And I've been waiting to hear about that players-only meeting when crap hits the fan. The players-only meeting rallies the guys. I haven't heard about that one this week. Perhaps they had it and it's not out. But BYU's facing a Liberty team that's very interesting. 6-1, just barely beat an FCS team yet. They just lost by 1 after going for 2 against Wake Forest, several weeks ago. They're interesting. They're good, but how good is the question, and what will BYU's response be? There's a lot that BYU can fix of its own volition, Cam, but they're playing a Liberty team on the East Coast. What do you think of this matchup against this team this week?
Look, there's one thing I know, and just listening to what Hugh Freeze, their coach, has been saying, this is a big game for them. They are going to come out ready to play. We're at their home stadium. This is a game where they want to take that program to the next level. They are 6-1 and lost to that Wake Forest team that's 13 that lost to Clemson by 6. So, but then they've also had games where they've really struggled against lesser opponents. So it's a team that's kind of, two teams at the same time. What team we're going to face? I think we're going to get that team that almost beat Wake Forest. And so our team needs to come. Obviously, they're going to see we haven't stopped the run. They're going to try and exploit that. Let's make sure we stop the run. We're not going to win any more games if we give up 244 yards rushing like we did against Notre Dame and Arkansas. So I want to see our defense respond because, look, Liberty's going to come ready to play. And if this is one of those things where we're going to let Arkansas beat us twice, we can't. And that's where I hope this leadership really stepped up because they're going into a hornet's nest with Liberty because I feel it. You can see they're coming ready to play. This is a big game for them.
Yeah, Cam, and you point out Liberty is more than capable. They're a team that averages almost 200 yards rushing per game. So certainly there will be an emphasis on the Flames running the ball against BYU. Now, we've also touched on the idea that we feel strongly that Kalani Sitake is going to have a significant imprint on this game. He's heavily involved in the defensive play calling. How much of a difference do you expect that to make, and where will we see that manifest itself?
I think it'll make a big difference. It's happened in the program. I mean, I remember when Mendenhall took over, I think it was twice, one with Nick Howell and one with Jaime Hill. There was a big increase in production. There is something when, and again, like I said, it's just not schematics. And I think they're going to simplify it. I think Kalani's emphasizing the run. He's going to make it simple for run fits. But it's more just the culture. When you have a head coach get involved, and there's something that just the head coach coaching on defense. And I think we'll see a big increase like we've done in the past that we've seen when a head coach took over some of those defensive call responsibilities. There's just something culturally that happens, a sense of urgency and a whole level just of excitement in a way. And so I think we'll see, like we have in the past when this has happened, an increase in production.
Cam, Bronco Mendenhall is a free agent head coach. There's some high-profile jobs out there. Is there one where you think he'd be the best fit?
Well, they're going to have to get him off the beach. I was texting him a little bit. Every time I text him, he's on the beach somewhere, He's like, I like surfing, so they'll have to get him off a beach. But I think he's going to get back, and there are some high-profile jobs. Again, I can't, where my stance is. I loved playing for him. He's a guy that got the most out of me. He's the type of coach I wanted. He's not for everybody, but for me, he was my coach. So I'd love to see him in another program. He's just such a good coach, what he does to players. He's learned so much, even from his BYU days, seeing what he did at Virginia. So I don't think we've seen the end of Coach Mendenhall. I think he's sooner than later, we're going to hear that news break. But I'd love to see him at one of those schools that you talked about.
Wisconsin, Nebraska, Arizona State. There's a bunch of high-profile ones. We'll see. Cam, we appreciate the time.
Nebraska would be a great fit for him.
Yes.
I'd like to see that, but we'll see.
And the irony of going back to the 2015 spot would be fun as well.
Yeah.
Cam, we appreciate the time, man. Best of luck with everything.
Thanks, guys. Go Cougars.